Hey everyone, it's Mike with It's Pittsfield Tonight. I'm going to jump right into it, and we're going to start with yesterday's swearing in of our new city council members, school committee members, the city clerk, and the mayor gave her State of the City address. So our new city councilors are officially now Ward 1, Kenny Warren, Ward 2, Charles Cronick, Ward 3, Kevin Sherman, Ward 4, Jem Conant, and Ward 5, Patrick Cavey, Ward 6, Dina Lampiazzi, Ward 7, Tony Mafuccio, and then our new at-large city councilor, Karen Kalinowski, and then 3 of our incumbent at-large councilors returned, also Earl Persip, Pete White, and Peter Marchetti. And Peter Marchetti was elected city council president again, and I believe Pete White city council vice president. You know what's funny, this past year I turned 50, and when Peter Marchetti first ran for the city council, I was in my 20s. I mean, that guy's been there forever. So, I don't know, I hope we can get change, but when you have somebody who's been around forever, I don't know. But hopefully, yes, hopefully. So, I'm going to reach out to all of them, including Peter, see if I can get them on. There's a lot of issues I want to talk about. And the mayor gave her, and school committee, that's one that is too often overlooked. And we do have some new school committee members, and the school committee is going to be a big one. There's a lot of issues with the schools, and as you know, since this administration has been in the past 6 or 7 years or so, our Pittsfield public schools have been ranked now by the state as underperforming. The schools are in bad shape. So that's something that really has to be discussed. And so I'll be reaching out to some of the new school committee members also. So the mayor gave her State of the City address. She didn't really talk in depth about a lot. There was a couple specific things, a new hotel on Outer South Street towards Lenox. It's out near Guido's. It'll be a Holiday Inn, a 77-unit Holiday Inn, and we've been hearing about that going back almost a decade now. So supposedly they are going to break ground this year, and that will be tax revenue for the city. She talked about the Finn Street shelter for those in homelessness, which is the church there right across the street from City Hall. Many of you know when that was initially proposed, well, the mayor's husband has a business right there. I think it's Pearl Street maybe. But he was one of the people against that, and I think they finally came to some kind of agreement. But anyways, they're putting more funding into that. And speaking of that, you know, a lot of you know I'm a big advocate for those in homelessness. Because of when I was a teenager, I was homeless. I was one of those people. So, and that's a tough way to have to live, and, you know, we need better programs for that. But speaking of that, the past 6 months, I have seen more people panhandling in the city of Pittsfield than I've ever seen. In fact, one day I saw them all around Park Square, and there was an incident. The police were involved. I just happened to be hearing it as I drove by. Somebody was saying that somebody threatened them with a knife, and it was a couple people in homelessness fighting with each other. It was a big ordeal. And then I saw a couple come up and hand their sign off, or the person that was standing there handed their sign off to them. It was like they switched shifts or something. And I thought, what is happening here? You know, what is ServiceNet doing? What is the city doing? How are we being proactive with this? Are there counselors going out talking to these people? You know, when you hear about like the Keenan House for Women being shut down, when Berkshire County has the worst record for opioid overdoses and deaths in the state, and we're seeing a place like the Keenan House for Women being shut down, an essential place that we need, when we're seeing the amount of panhandlers we're seeing, there's a big problem. And what is ServiceNet doing? Are they in a position to provide counseling? Are they talking to these people? Are they engaging with them? Do they know who these people are? Or is this all getting pushed over onto the police department and our officers are dealing with it? But I've never seen panhandling at this level before in the city of Pittsfield. I'm sure many people feel that way. It's getting out of control. And at the same time, you have businesses begging for employees, begging. So are we putting programs together to assist people to get them back into the workforce? I don't know. It doesn't appear that way. And another thing I want to touch on is affordable housing, something we are lacking greatly that is not being discussed enough. And when you look at what happened at the end of last year, when you had two of our former city councilors, Chris Connell and Kevin Morandi, wanted to see the mayor take additional money, another $1 million or more, out of free cash to offset the increases everyone was going to see and is seeing in their property taxes. And Councilor Persip specifically, I believe it was Councilor Persip, Councilor Moon, and Councilor White at that time, Councilor Persip said that Morandi and Connell were just putting on a show. This is ridiculous. People earned all this equity in their home, and he was just dead set against it. And I don't know why he feels that way. I'm going to ask him and see if we can talk about that. I don't know why he's so adamant on that, because here's the thing, and this directly ties into affordable housing, is during the pandemic, we all know in the past year, due to inflation, the pre-existing housing market skyrocketed. And on a national average, it was 20%. Most houses in the past year went up in value 20%, some more. And with the feds keeping interest rates at almost zero, people were easily getting mortgages, and it made the pre-existing home market incredibly valuable. People were getting asking price and more. The new home sales, because of hyperinflation, we saw materials at an all-time high. Plywood at one point was up like 400%. Some of that has started to come back down. Some of it. And then, of course, the labor shortage. So new home sales went down, pre-existing home sales went up, and due to that inflation, we saw these values just jump. So people's property taxes have went up tremendously. And even though the mayor lowered the tax rate, everyone's paying considerably more in property taxes. And taking that additional money out of the free cash account would have offset that burden. And again, Councilor Persip was the main one who said this is a show. He was angry about it. And if that's a show, if that would have been a show asking to take more money out of free cash, isn't it, I wonder if he would agree that it's a show, that this American rescue money that the federal government is putting out, is that a show? I mean, when you have costs jump like that due to inflation at a time when everyone's being crunched, and if you're owning a property owner that owns income properties, who do you think you're passing that expense to? So, as I said, the feds, we know that interest rate hikes are coming. So the feds announced that they've already started tapering on asset purchasing, which is the bond market, basically. So they've cut that in half, from $30 billion to $15 billion a month, and we can expect 3 rate increases coming. The first one as early as March. That's what people are expecting. And what that's going to do is start to stabilize the housing market, for one, because the banks will tighten up on who they loan to. And what is going to become even more expensive? Rentals, because that market will become more competitive. And it's already to the point where you have like developers in Pittsfield putting these new apartments in, and they're $1,500 a month and up. I mean, the rents are unbelievable. And in some cases, 3 times what some people are paying in mortgages. So, and definitely double. So that's a huge problem. And when you have it in an area like Tyler Street, which is an opportunity zone, and I'm almost finished with my research on that. That's one I think a lot of people will be interested in. It's crazy what's happening. And because of this, you're going to see more and more people out there holding signs. Because we don't have housing. And that, again, ties also back into our service providers. How are we addressing this? When you shut down facilities like the Keenan House for Women, how are we addressing any of this that's correlated to the opioid epidemic? And then how are we addressing it that's correlated to the shortage in rentals and affordable housing? We kind of got a mess with that. So I'm curious to how all that will be addressed. I'm going to reach out to all the counselors. I've spoken to Karen Kalinowski. She's coming on the show, but I'm going to reach out to all the counselors and see who wants to come on. And there's a lot of stuff to discuss. And again, for me, I've said this a million times, none of it's personal. So hopefully none of them take it personal. But specifically in Counselor Persip's case, I'm curious why he really believed that that was just a show they were putting on, and he didn't see any value of benefiting the taxpayers with doing that. I mean, I don't understand that. But anyway, there's that. North Street wasn't discussed in the mayor's State of the City. I think that one really needs to be. I think people want to see numbers. Who's riding bikes? How much are these bike lanes being used? How much is it affecting the businesses on North Street? How do the business owners feel about it? I know the ones I've talked to, which is almost all of them, almost, not all of them. There's a couple that I guess are for it, but the ones I've spoken to are not. They think the street is a mess. When the next snowstorm comes through, I wonder what's going to happen. That last snowstorm, we had about 6 to 8 inches, and a whole section of those poles were knocked down, and our Commissioner of Public Works, Ricardo Morales, said, they only cost about $25 a piece. Which is true, but what about labor and all that and putting them back in? And isn't all money, isn't that all waste? Just allowing those to be plowed down? And how are the plow drivers supposed to navigate around those and plow? His reasoning on that was ridiculous to me. He said it makes it easier for them. I don't believe that. I wish I could talk to some of the plow drivers, but they probably can't on record because they'd lose their job. But anyway, so there's a ton I want to talk to the new council about. So that's it on all those issues. My GoFundMe, as I said in the last video, I finally got that straightened out I'm sure it was for political reasons, but somebody flagged my Facebook page, my Twitter account, which I hardly ever use, which was funny, and my GoFundMe, they reported it. All of that was straightened out, but it screwed me up for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. So to everyone who has given to the fundraiser, I can't thank you enough. It's how I continue doing this. Normally, I pull that after the first week of January. I'm going to let it run a little bit longer because it was shut down for about 10 to 14 days there. So I'll put that back at the top of the page today, and I'll put it in the comment section of this video. But thank you so much to everyone who's already donated. It's how I'm able to continue this, and I do 2 of those a year, one in the summer and one in the winter. So if you can give, awesome. I more than appreciate it. And again, to those who have given already, thank you so much. And what else? Oh, the business tour. The business tour that I was doing before the holidays, I'll be continuing that starting next week. And any Pittsfield business that wants to be featured on It's Pittsfield Tonight, just message me and we'll figure something out. We'll schedule a time. And I'll be getting back with, I already have 3 or 4 that I was talking to before the holidays, and they're the first on the list for me to get back with. If you haven't checked out any of those videos yet, they're on the page, or you can go to itspittsfieldtonight.com. I'm really excited about the new website. That's doing really well, so check that out. The link is right on here. So it's itspittsfieldtonight.com, and there's all bunch of stuff on there, and there'll be more content, more surveys, things like that. The bicycle survey, as many of you know, for the bike lanes on North Street got screwed up, but I was able to fix that. That was my first survey I posted. I didn't enable the security features, so somebody couldn't just clear their browser and vote multiple times, and some schmuck went on there and voted 210 times or something to screw the survey up. But that is fixed right now. So I'll be posting new surveys all the time, just stuff related to Pittsfield, and anything that I can use to help promote our local businesses is really what I'm doing, and local issues to see where people stand on these things. So for the millionth time, that's it for now. Everyone stay safe, stay warm, and I'll catch you all in the next day or two.